Doing the claps. Alright, so first, my apologies to people who wanted to see the combination in the last video. As I said, I just didn't want to do like a 2-hour long video because that one ended up being almost an hour long on its own. So now we're just doing the combination, but it's pretty cool. So we got Blaion and Bluecop in their respective robot modes. As a reminder for anyone who missed that last video, Bluecop's hip skirts are up because I just leave them like that because this joint seems like it's prone to cracking, and it's definitely, if I try and lower them down, I can feel a lot of resistance, especially on this side. And this is an important combiner joint thing, so rather than risk cracking the joint, I just leave the hip skirts up, and I don't think it really detracts from the look of the figure enough to risk the joint itself. That aside, here we've got Blaion and Bluecop in their robot modes, and it is time to do the combining. So, we're going to start with Blaion. There's a lot of really interesting stuff going on here. This whole combination just feels very Brave to me, which granted I don't have a ton of experience with Brave stuff, but it just has that feel, and the way it comes together is really interesting. So, to start, we're going to essentially unrobot Blaion, but we're not going back into vehicle mode. We're going to pop off his arms, pop off the arms, and these will both get turned back into their alt mode configuration. So we're going to rotate the fist around, rotate that back in, put this off to the side, and then for this one, bring that around, open this up, rotate the fist, rotate it in, close it back up, off to the side. Going to rotate the arm. Actually, no, we're going to do this just so that I can get an angle on these bits, because these pop off. And for the most complicated part of this whole thing, we need to transform this bit. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to essentially turn the upper body back into fire truck mode. I'm going to straighten out the arms. And while we're doing this, we need to disconnect this thing, and this is just hooked in here, so we want to push down to unplug it and then slide it out. This will, of course, go off to the side, and we'll get back to that later. Now, I'm going to ratchet the upper body forward, disconnect the shoulder sections here, and I like to hold up here just because there's a lot of flex here if I don't. And, you know, I don't want to put any undue pressure on anything if I can avoid it. So disconnect these, swing them around, and plug all that back in. And then you want to take the elbows and give them a 90-degree bend. There we go. Want to make sure that this is down. So, for the head, rotate that 180 degrees, click this down, and there is actually, we flip this around, you can see there's a tab here that will actually click into a little thing down in there. So you want to swing this in and kind of push this way to click that in, and then once that's clicked in, you can push the head back the rest of the way, and the little smokestacks will sit in that little crevice, and everything's cool. Then raise all of the various skirtings up and out of the way so that we can rotate the legs, the whole lower body around 180 degrees, and then bring all of the skirtings back down. And now the leg transformation, which is kind of wild. So I'm going to straighten out the little toesies. You want to, and this is cool, I really, really like this. It's so simple, but like really neat. You want to untab this bit back here and bring this down, and it's on a bunch of different ratchets, and this all swings around and will clip into the foot down there. And the reason this is so cool to me is, if you notice, this is kind of where I guess you kind of have a heel for this particular version of the leg, but when you bring this down, it brings out an entirely separate and slightly extended heel. And it's just one whole assembly that does that. It's really cool. So now he has bigger feet. Then I'm going to slide this down and fold in the wheels on the back. So slide this down and fold in the wheels. Next, you want to take these bits and they attach to their respective legs. You can just see how like the pegs and the peg holes all match up. Let's just squish those in or on. There we go. That bulks out the lower legs a bit. And then, it's very tall. Then we're going to attach these bits. We'll do this one first. So these peg over these things that are ratcheted for some reason. I guess I kind of understand why, but okay, so the reason why I'm a little bit like, I don't know, is because there's this tab here that actually goes into this little slot right below the connector. So you don't actually want to twist it, you just kind of push it straight in, and that tabs in and holds this in place. You can untab it, I guess, and then you can angle the wings, but the intention is for that to peg in, which just makes me wonder why they designed this to move when that tab is there, and it kind of locks the wings into a very particular orientation. And that is it for Blaion right now. I'm just bringing this up because balance. And he's going to go off to the side for a minute. Well, for more than a minute, because Blueon Transformation is kind of really interesting. Which says a lot, because, like I said in the last video, I don't really like Blueon as a figure. But, so to transform him, I'm going to push in his knees. I'm going to, going to bring his elbows in for like 3 clicks, because that's actually kind of the magic number when you do the combine mode. But yeah, do 3 clicks and then rotate the forearms down. Going to bring the arms up and into the shoulders, and this will all just sit like this. This folds up, but not all the way up. You just kind of bring this up and out of the way, pull the combine mode head out of the chest, and then bring the head down on this panel that unclicks and goes down, and close that little flap. And now this part was legitimately like tricky for me when I first got this guy, because I could not figure out why things weren't lining up properly. And basically, it turns out you kind of have to have the head fairly straight. Otherwise, things won't quite line up. So you want the head pretty much as straight as you can get it. And then the entire upper body here slides on this track here. This all slides down or forward and clicks into place. And if you do it right, the head should fit perfectly into the cavity, and you can just see like the little head crest poking through there. The first time I was messing with this guy, I could not get that to line up right, and it was at like a weird angle, and it was probably putting a lot of stress on the neck. It wasn't great. So you just want to make sure that that's straightened out and actually sits properly in the cavity right there. Then bring the arms in. And the sides of the car will peg in like you're going back into car mode. You want to bring the head up, and there's a little thing there that the neck stump will tab into. And now, do the big splits. Bring these flaps up so that you can flip the feet around and then bring the flaps back down. One thing I always forget to do, so I'm going to do it now, is take this flap that's been kind of accordioned in and bring it out, just because that's what the instructions and design calls for, but you can leave them in if you want. Now, this is actually like legitimately super cool. I somehow managed to flip that back by mistake. Hopefully that head is okay. Anyway, this is super cool. The shin sections for Blue Cop's robot mode are actually secret biceps. You can unfold the elbow and everything, rotate it around, and like that's the biceps. I don't know, I just think that's extremely cool. I really I really like that particular aspect of Blue Cop. I think is really cool. Okay, and then to finish this up, we need to bring in this part of Blue Cop's card accessory. So what will happen is this chest plate, which I didn't really talk about in the first video, but it's a nice little ornate chest plate. This unpegs from here, and I'll go off to the side. This you can rotate down, and these guns will just have kind of straight up like that. The way this works is it connects in multiple places. There's this tab right here that clips in right in front of the combined mode face. There's these pegs on either side that peg into these holes right behind the fists. And then there are these tabs on the wrists that tab into the legs. And I've seen videos where people like plug this in first and then bring it down, and that can work. But honestly, I find it easier to get this in place first and then get everything down around it. I don't know why it's easier, it just is. So I bring this down and just clip this into that spot in front of the neck. That just clicks right in. Then bring down the arm, and it'll come down one click. And then this just pegs in there, and once that's pegged in, it actually kind of naturally wants to just tab in to the back of the thigh. Let's bring this down, peg this in, and then tab this down. And there is the upper body pretty much done. Just gonna leave the guns forward for a sec because we have to actually attach this. So we're gonna bring Blaion back in. And before we attach that, we've got to take the chest plate, and there are these two very suspicious looking pegs on the front of the hip skirts that this pegs onto. And now we can attach the two bots together. So there are these pegs on either side of these black pieces here. Those are going to loosely peg into the fists for Blue Cop. These are just sort of like guiding pegs, so these just loosely go in the fists like so, and that will just kind of be flopping around a bit. And now the hip skirts, let's see if I can zoom in a bit here. The hip skirt pieces for Blue Cop that are very important will clip in right here, and then there's this clip, or this post here on the bottom of the plate that Blaion's head sits on that'll clip into the underside of the car mode hood. So that comes down and clips in, and then this comes in and clips in like that. So I'm going to first get all of this kind of situated. I like to give the knees a couple of clicks because I just think that's a nice kind of dynamic angle for the arms. And we're going to bring in the gauntlets, and they clip on to their respective arms. You just keep this flap down and it thunks right on. This connection is nowhere near as surprisingly strong as the connection for Blaion's arms, but that all connects there. With all of this connected, you can bring these guns back and they just kind of rest against the bent elbows there. And to fully and totally wrap this up, I'm going to take this thing that who knew what this was for, and take the helmet off, and this is pegged kind of going this way into a strut here, so you want to kind of pull it this way to unplug it. There we go. And there you can see there's the slot that it pegs into, and there is a little tab on the back side there. This strut rather, folds in, and then there are actually little connectors on the sides here that fold out. And as you might expect, these bits double fold their way out to straighten out, and then these clips that just folded out will go onto these posts on, I guess now it's a chest. So these just clip on and clip on. And that gives him his fancy combine mode chest. Finally, you can take the helmet and open it up. You can actually open up 2 spots, 2 clicks. You kind of don't need to do 2, but we'll do it anyway. And the tab that went over the strut for this thing will go into the slot on the back of the combine mode head. So that just tabs on like that. And then you close this up. And there we go. And here is, I believe the combine mode is called Grand Bluleon or Bluleon or something. And this thing is spectacular. First of all, I really like that combination. As much grief as I have given Blue Cop, and I feel justified, I still do not like him as a standalone figure. The way he transforms for the combination, the way he connects to Blaion is really cool. And the way Blaion transforms to accommodate that is also really cool. And again, it gives me that feeling of like Brave stuff, where it's just not your usual connection. I've said this before about other Korean combiners, but like I do really like how the way they handle combinations is so different than we're used to seeing in like Transformers. I know Transformers has had a few that do things differently, but like this is just so interesting. And the full robot looks shockingly cohesive. I mean, it clearly looks like some kind of transforming thing that's been mashed together, but at the same time, it doesn't necessarily look like 2 completely different vehicles. It almost looks like it could be, say, a truck cab and its trailer, you know, if you didn't know what it all turns into. Especially because you can't see the front section of the fire truck anymore. It's surprising just how cohesive this is, and like the proportions are also really nice. It's still got the super robot thing where the head's kind of tiny, but like it's not that small. I appreciate too that you have a completely different head for the combine mode rather than just Blue Cop's head with a hat on. A hat on top of the hat that's already molded into it. But like, again, the proportions are really nice. This actually makes Blaion's proportions make sense, because of course they gave him the gigantic sexy thighs and the trim but larger for his proportions waist, because it ends up being this, and this is just so cool. And as I said before during the transformation, I love that the biceps are hidden inside the shins for Blue Cop. That is such a neat idea, and it all comes together so well. Even like the foot transformation is really cool too. The way everything bulks out is just so neat, and I like that the card gimmick is basically part of the combiner, because the card gimmick for the 2 figures is fine. I think it works better for Blaion than Blue Cop, because Blue Cop is so tiny and his articulation, especially in the arms, is so limited. It works well enough for Blaion, but like here, it really comes together, and I also really like the asymmetry of it. It kind of makes me wish a little bit of that asymmetry was like elsewhere in the design, but I'm not mad about it. It's just kind of, I don't know, I think it's cool how like the bulk of the blue is up here and the red is like down here. It's got this interesting diagonal separation of the bulk of the different colors, which is cool. But again, I do think it would be cool if there was just a little bit more asymmetry, but like then it would look weird on Blaion, because, you know, what are you going to do, make one of the legs blue? That would look really weird. But it's neat. And this is just such a cool looking combine mode. Honestly, I was kind of not sure how I felt about this set when I first got it. I mentioned this in the last video, especially because of all the fixes I had to do, like greasing up the, not actual grease, but like greasing up the neck joints so that I didn't have to worry about things breaking, and like the whole thing with the hip skirts on Blue Cop, which I still haven't touched. It was a lot. And then there's the fact that you've got the combiner ankles. So that is a thing that a lot of people have mentioned, that the ankle joints on the combine mode, because they are separate joints with how everything moves and stuff, they are separate from what you get in the regular robot mode for Blaion. those joints have a tendency to shatter themselves because the spring they used for it is entirely too strong. And I can confirm when I first got this guy out of the box and was messing with those ankles, I was like, oh, that sounds and feels terrible to move and is concerning. So looked up a video, hopefully I'm going to remember to link it, but there's the video Soltron did on fixing basically the ankles, and it's not difficult, it's just a lot of screws you have to take out and put back in, but doing that definitely helped, and we'll get to that when we get to articulation, but like, it was an involved process. I actually had to disassemble one of the ankles twice because the first time I did it, I took a little too much off the screw, so it was way looser than I liked. And when I did the other ankle, it was like basically perfect, but then the first ankle I did was too loose, so I had to open it up again and add some cushion into one part of the joint so that it had more strength to the click, and it was just a whole thing. After digesting all of the work I had to do on this thing and just messing with the figures on their own a couple of days after the fact, once I kind of knew more what to expect and didn't feel as weirdly disappointed by things, I turned around and like really, really liked the set. I still don't like Blue Cop, but like as a full set, I love this. Blaion is great. Grand Bluleon, whatever, is amazing. Blue Cop kind of sucks, in my opinion anyway, but he's a component. And the way he transforms, I said earlier, like I really like transforming him for the combination. I don't really have any problems with the transformation in general, it's just the robot mode, the core robot mode is kind of meh. But anyway, yeah, this is just incredible, and big, and surprisingly clean. Like, he does have a backpack, but it's, at least part of it is in service of this giant wingspan back here. It's very cool. This guy is big and heavy and incredibly cool. And the way I have to arrange everything just to get this angle on stuff is kind of ridiculous, but the combined mode head is very cool, very ornate. I do wish they didn't lean into the whole police lights thing as much as they did, because they actually have like the blue on one side, red on the other for like the emergency lights. Makes it harder to pretend he's not part of that, but it's a cool looking head. I think it's extremely fancy and ornate. I, for some reason, really like these white bits that kind of jut out and down around the sides of the chin strap, I guess. The face is just, you know, this is the face that you see for the combined mode head. There's no like faceplate on the helmet, which is a nice change of pace from Mini-Force Rex Kaiser. But the helmet itself is very well done. It's got this big chrome gold crest, which is cool. And yeah, it's neat. Similarly, he also has the very fancy chest shield thing. That's this really nice chrome gold and black with like a little bit of that light blue and this translucent red. It's very cool. And I think it adds just enough ornamentation to the chest. And it also helps that you've got that chrome gold in the head crest as well. And unlike Heavy Iron W, the chest doesn't stick out to an absurd degree given the proportions of the figure. It does stick out a bit, but it's not, you know, that dragon head sticking out so far it becomes awkward. Now for the articulation, this is going to be difficult to show, again, because of how I have to arrange everything to actually show everything on camera. The head is on a ball joint, so you got some tilt, you get some up and down, and also the neck doesn't really like to stay plugged in down there, so you can use that for up as well. And it can rotate around. It can pretty much go all the way around, though the ears are a little bit, they make things a little bit awkward. The arms, in theory, could go all the way around, but because of the wings, you kind of can't go all the way around, but I think you can get around enough. And now for in and out, that is kind of a bummer with this guy. You can go out 2 clicks on the knee joint. If you move this out of the way, you can go further out, but now this is happening. I suppose you could fold that back and try and hide it a little bit. And then the bicep has the 1-2 clicks, and that's kind of it. It can't go out any further when it's like this because it's only designed to go in further when it's rotated like that. And so you can kind of, if you really get creative with some of these things, you can go out to an almost T-pose. But realistically speaking, if you move this out of the way, that's as far out as it's going to get, which isn't terrible, but could be better. But also, again, this is just a big combiner, so whatever. You get bicep rotation, you get elbow bend, though the elbow doesn't quite make it to 90, and because of how all of this connects, that's as much bend as you're getting. It is not going to bend anymore because there's no room. You could, if you could find a reason for it, use the joint for the that flip out joint that allows these gauntlets to, like, it's basically an adapter, so like if you flip this in, you can connect these to Blue Cop. You can use that for like inward curl. I don't entirely know why you would use it, but you can use it for that. You don't get any wrist rotation, even though it feels like the wrist moves a little bit. But something I neglected to mention in the previous video, you do get a little bit of finger articulation. The thumb is on a ball joint, and this is the same for both hands. So you got ball joint, and then the fingers are one piece, and all can open up or close. I prefer just the fist, because I think that works best. Okay, now for the waist. If you get the front, back, and side skirts out of the way, you can rotate the lower body, and it can go all the way around, but the problem is it's rotating below all the skirting. So you're really only going to get one click out of it before it starts to look really awkward. Because like if you do this, then, I mean, I guess that's okay-ish, but it's still not great. So yeah, you can use that as a waist, but that's not the best. And unfortunately, that's all you're getting because it doesn't rotate up here. And now for the legs. This guy's just very, very large. We'll be seeing in a minute. He's very large. So once again, getting the various skirts and things out of the way. Well, this is the same as Blaion's articulation, the legs. So you've got the clicky thigh rotation. The hips can go forward. That far. Very sturdy ratchets. Can go back that far. Can go out that far because now you don't have anything in the way. The knees, I forgot to do this in the last video too, or forgot to do this until after. You get a double jointed knee, so you can do one click there. You can, I think it's best to do the upper section first, but you can essentially get that's as deep as it can go if you force it. I don't really like how that feels, but you get essentially 90 degrees, maybe slightly over 90. And then also, as I mentioned, you get that clicky thigh rotation. And now, this was the big thing for me, was these ankles, because these were just scary to move. But after some modification, now you can see they move relatively effortlessly and they don't sound alarming. This was the one that was too loose, by the way. But yeah, you get all the way out, or in, for the ankles. And they even have this little block here to kind of fill things in when you use them, which I like. And they're strong enough, even after the modification, to hold him up and not, like, click back on their own, which is good. Because that was a problem with this one, after I made it too loose at first. I forgot to pull out the gauntlet weapons, but like there you can see there's the blaster cannon thing and the sword thing, and they look cool, and it's neat. And as I said, this guy's very big. Here he is with the red twins, and as a reminder, Ova Prime is roughly the same height as your average modern deluxe. So he's big. Here he is with a couple of older metal Cardbot figures, Black Hook and Heavy Iron, and like, honestly, he makes Black Hook look like a freaking core class figure, like just proportionally. It's wild. Here he is with the beefcake that is Heavy Iron W, and for once doing a size comparison with Heavy Iron W, I don't have to adjust the camera. And in case anyone who's been following the channel for a decent amount of time is curious, I do still have Tobot v Big Troll. He still is my favorite Korean combiner toy, but he is noticeably much smaller than Grand Bluleon or Bluleon. Again, I don't know how you pronounce it, but he's still really cool and he's still big, but like he is not tiny, but like he's definitely much smaller. And you know what? Screw it. I had a bunch of size comparisons set aside and I was pretty much done with all of them, but just because, since we looked at him recently-ish, here he is with Solid Horn, and here he is with Mini-Force Rex Kaiser. And that will do it for Metal Cardbot Grand Bluleon or Bluleon, whatever. As I said before, this is a really cool set. It took me a little time to warm up to, I admit, but very cool set. Even though I'm not really feeling Blue Cop, I still think the combine mode is just amazing. It's got really nice articulation, even if it's a little bit fiddly in a few places. It's manageable, and it looks so cool. It's just very big. It's very big, kind of unwieldy, and I'm not the biggest fan of how much work you have to do to this thing out of the box if you don't want stuff to break on you. To be fair, that is not a new concept. If you deal with official Transformers, that's something you're probably pretty familiar with. If you deal with third-party stuff, deal with KOs, it's all stuff that happens. It's just, for some reason, I never expected it from Metal Cardbot or, by extension, other like Korean figures, because I know in the past there have been some instances of like ratchet joints and stuff getting a little bit too stiff or whatever, but like it just seems like the kind of thing that, with how big and dense and nice the plastic feels on these things, it just seems like it wouldn't be a problem, but apparently it still is. Incidentally, anyone watching this, if you get Heavy Iron W, supposedly the neck joint can sometimes shear itself off if it feels really stiff, so if it feels really stiff, try and do something to loosen up that ball joint. There are a couple of different things you can do, but just, you know, be careful with that head on Heavy Iron W if it feels like really stiff. Point is, it's a little disappointing, but I'm still able to really enjoy this, and just look at it. It looks amazing. Poses reasonably well, though there's some limitations, especially with how bulky the gauntlets are and stuff like that. They can get in the way a little bit, but it's still super cool. I am aware of the accessory robot that you can get for these guys. It's like a phoenix bird thing that turns into a sword and shield. I'm tempted, but I don't really want to pay the kinds of prices that seems to be importing for right now for what is basically just an accessory for this guy. Maybe if I find it for a decent price in the future, maybe I'll bite. But for now, this is what we got, and I feel like, you know, he doesn't really need a sword and shield because he's got a wrist blade and a wrist cannon. Point is, super cool set, and I've talked enough. So thank you all for watching. Hopefully this has been fun. I managed to keep it slightly more under an hour this time, so go me. Let me know what you all think of this set, whether it's Blue Cop, Blaion, Grand Bluleon, Grand Bluleon, whatever. Whatever your thoughts, feel free to chime in down below. I always enjoy hearing from you all. Thank you all for watching, and I'm once again in that position where I don't know what the next video is going to be because I don't have anything else new in hand currently to talk about, so we'll see what happens.